Happy Mother's Day, team. It's May 14th. We're still talking about determination. Today we're in the book of Acts, chapter 10. And in this story, we meet this man named Cornelius. Cornelius is a Roman centurion, which means he is a Gentile. And he has a dream or a vision that said that he needed to call for Simon Peter to come and, well, actually, really just call for him. That's all he had to do. And so he does that. And Simon Peter also has a vision. And in this vision, he is told that 3 men are going to come to his door to get him. He needs to just go with them. And I love the obedience of both of those people, that they were just told one thing and they did it. I'm not sure I would do that. A lot of times I question. And so I just love that obedience and how that teaches determination. And then when Peter gets to the court, he realizes he is surrounded by Gentiles. Now, this is a big deal because Gentiles and Jews did not mingle with each other. And mostly that was because the Jews were convinced that anybody who was not a Jew was not clean and they could not spend time with them. They were not circumcised. And so, it was a really big deal for Peter to be in the presence of Gentiles. And I love his response when he gets there. What he says is, I most certainly understand now that God is not one to show partiality. But in every nation, the man who fears him and does what is right is welcome to him. How awesome is that? There's not anybody who should not hear about Jesus. There's not anybody who's done too bad that can't hear about Jesus. There's not anybody who is, there's just not any way to weed out people who don't need to hear about Jesus. And Peter was convicted of that in showing up and talking to the Romans here. Our bottom line for the week is keep going even when the job is bigger than you think. And I think Peter would tell you he was really overwhelmed that in this job that God had sent him to do. But God showed up in a really big way and rained the Holy Spirit down on the people, and the Roman people, the Gentiles, and even to a point where it says in verse 46 in chapter 10, it says, for they were hearing them speaking with tongues and exalting God. And Peter is like, surely they need to be baptized because they have experienced God's presence. They believe in Jesus and the stories of Jesus. And so they were baptized. All of those people were baptized right away. I think that's a great way to teach kids not to give up. I know there's a lot of times I get in the middle of a project, and whether I made it bigger or it was bigger than I expected, it takes a lot longer than I expected. And a lot of times I have to dig deep to just finish the project. Or I even have projects that are still sitting around that have never been finished. And so I know we all can relate to this big idea today. So please forgive me for this activity. Kids are really going to love it, but I know it might be a little bit of a nightmare for some of you leaders too. The kids are going to make a rubber band ball today. Each kid has a bag of 15 rubber bands, and they're going to start with the thicker rubber band and make it into a ball. And then all they have to do is take the other rubber bands and wrap it around that ball until it makes a giant rubber band, or a kind of a bouncy ball size rubber band ball, which I think is plenty big. And they can take all of that home. So that's a good thing to continue to talk through the story with the kids. You can do your discussion questions while the kids are making their rubber band ball. They can take their rubber band ball home. If they're not finished, they can take their baggie home and they can finish their rubber band ball at home. Your memory verse activity can be played several different ways, so don't get overwhelmed by this one. If you want to just even create a way that you play the memory verse activity, or that you grill the kids to learn the memory verse, I think it's an important one to remember. I know it's one that I have clung to for years. It says, let us not become tired of doing good. At the right time, we will gather a crop if we don't give up. Galatians 6:9. So look for creative ways that you can play this activity, or just have the kids quote the memory verse, maybe one word at a time, or however you want to do that. You can definitely do the maze part if you want. Really just want to get the memory verse in them, because this would be something that they could pull on later when they get frustrated or don't want to finish. And then you take a rubber band ball at the end for your prayer time, and you're going to encourage kids that throughout the week, if they find another rubber band, to add it to their ball and to use that as a way to remember our story today. So you might want to review the story today, because Peter was convinced that everyone needed to know about Jesus because of what he saw happen with the Romans and with the Gentiles in this story. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.